Welcome back to PhotoJoseph's Photo Moment, the Q&A portion of the show. We just went through a very fun educational piece about crop factor, focal lengths, how it all relates to each other, and hopefully it all makes sense to everybody watching now. This is the Q&A portion of the show, which means we get to answer all your questions. We've got a lot of fun stuff in here to talk about. Let's just see what is going on in the questions today. Remember, if you are watching live and you have a question, please post it into the chat right now. Make sure you put @PhotoJoseph in front of it, like these fine people have, and we will get to see, and then I will know that there's a question for me. Eric Moore, you are a great person. Thanks for sharing. Why, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And Burns agrees. Aw, you guys are awesome. Okay, Tony Smith. Oh, says my Photography 101 course is spectacular. Why, thank you very much. What he is talking about is this, right. Ooh, where is it? Oh, that's interesting. I don't have Photo 101 up here. Anyway, Photography 101, oh, I know where I have it. Photography 101 is a Lynda course. It's on lynda.com. If you are ever curious about these sorts of things, curious about all the basics of photography, I have this lovely, lovely course. Let's see here. I'm going to bring up this screen first. So there's a DIY course, which is another one that I have. Here is the 101. That's the one I wanted to show you. If you go to photojoseph.com/photo101, it will redirect you. But it is a full, I don't remember how long, 2 or 3 hour long Photography 101 course, just really the basics, understanding focal length, understanding what aperture is and ISO and how they play off of each other, basics of composition, how to hold and carry your camera, that sort of thing. It's a really fun course. I really enjoyed it. Thank you very much for appreciating it yourself. Burns says, bring a camera with you. Oh, out there, right? Yeah, I should have. So we had, for those of you not watching live, the part that I cut out of the last show is someone decided to start pressure washing the side of my metal building in the middle of the show. Oi, yeah, should have wheeled this camera out there and shamed him. All right, let's see here. What else is going down? Laying down the lie, that was me telling the guy out there to knock it off. Bart says 35mm film is actually closer to the size of APS-C. Correct, it is closer to APS-C than it is to Micro Four Thirds. We saw that in the illustration here. Where were we? Here we go. Let me bring this back up. We saw that in here. Well, closer. I mean, it's APS-C. That's pretty close to Micro Four Thirds. Actually, not that far off of Micro Four Thirds. Anyway, all relative. Tony Smith, do you ever think of which millimeter size you want to use based on subject size, since that is the actual measuring being taken, or do you still pick based on what will sit in the frame crop? I think I understand the question. I pick the lens based off of, I don't know, 1,000 different factors that happen at once and calculations that go on in my head about what I want the scene to look like, how much of the scene I want to capture, whether I want a long focal length to get more of the compression, the image compression or not. There's a lot of things that go into a decision. So it's not as easy. It's not like a calculation. It's more, you know, in my head, I know the 14 is a wide lens. I know my 25 is kind of a normal lens. I just grab the lens that I want to use. I don't know. I'm not really sure how to answer the question. I don't calculate it. It is just intuition and experience that says this is the lens I want to use. But there are certainly times where you try different lenses because you want to try different things. You go, oh, I like the way this looks better. I think, you know, using a longer lens, stepping back farther versus a shorter lens, getting closer to get the same field of view is going to be, get the same subject size is going to be interesting. Yeah. Not sure if that's much of an answer, but there you go. Bart says, I have heard and used the term effective focal length, correct, when talking about lens crops, which is, yes, that's a good way to describe it, effective focal length. The reason I'm using crop factor is because it is the most commonly used. That's what people know when talking about lens crops. Obviously, you clear it up and it's total, and it's really field of view, but it is incorrect to call that. No, effective focal length is not. Effective focal length is a term that is, again, going to be effective in relation to 35mm full frame, what we're used to. It's effectively a 50mm lens, right? Or this 25mm is effectively a 50mm lens. That's all that really means. Again, field of view would be more accurate. A 38-degree field of view would be more accurate, but that's just not how we do it. Bart says, I was saying the 35mm motion picture. Oh, motion picture film. Sorry, I missed that. Closer to APS-C than full frame. I guess photography film is a different size. 35mm motion picture, it is because it is wider, right? No, I'd have to pull that up. You got the Google. You pull it up. Compare. I'll let you do that part. Pull up 35mm film, motion picture film versus this type of film. There is a difference. I think it's taller. I don't remember. Anyway, I'll let you find that. Oh, look, someone's already saying same size. Alex says same size, but the photography image is bigger because the image is filling the film is wider. Oh, there you go. Okay, that makes sense. Timo says, I'm using a GX85, love it, and I wanted to get into strobe photography. Okay, but I got confused when I saw that some strobes have the brand of camera they would work with on them and some don't at all. Okay, so when it comes to strobes, thankfully, it's one of the few standards in the industry. The hot shoe is the same size on every camera. Granted, there are some that seem to have slightly more or less tolerance. I've had flashes that are really hard to get on some cameras before, but they are all the same size. And the center point, so let's do this here. This center point, that center dot, here I'll use my pencil here, the big one in the middle, that one there, that is the trigger. That is what tells the flash to fire. All the other points on there are doing different things depending on the manufacturer. They have to do with the TTL system. They could be sending power. They could be doing any number of things. But that center point is a constant. If you look at any on-camera flash in the world, you look at its hot shoe, on the bottom there's going to be a dot in the center. If there are any other, like a metal contact, if there's any other around it, then those are to do other communication. But that center one is all that is needed to fire it. What this tells you is that you could take a flash made for Canon and put it onto a Panasonic. You could take a flash made for Olympus and put it onto a Nikon. You can take any flash made by anybody and put it on any camera and it will work. It will fire. You will not get the TTL, the fancy automatic stuff and all that. You're going to be firing in pure manual, but you can put any flash on any camera and make it fire, which is one of the fun things if you're comfortable with manual flash photography, which is a great reason to become comfortable with it. You can use any flash strobe, whether it's a studio strobe, a pocket strobe. You can start mixing them up. You can get little tiny, doesn't matter. You can mix them up as long as you have a way to trigger them all, which you can do with either optical sync or with running wires to them, then you can mix and match flashes all over the place and fire them. You're just going to be doing it all manually. If you want automation, then you need to use a camera, a flash that is made for that camera. So in the case of the GX85, you could of course use the Panasonic flashes. You should be able to use the Olympus flashes. They're largely the same system, although I've never actually played with them. Then there are companies like Godox and Nissan that are making third-party, quite a bit less expensive TTL flashes that'll give you full automation. I am working on a relationship with one of those companies right now and going to try and have a whole bunch of stuff to show you guys about that. It's an ongoing relationship development that hopefully is going to work out. So hopefully that answers your question. All right, Timo, let's see what else is on here. That appears to be the last question. Oh, no, here's one more came up. Eric Moore, I just did a test between GH5 and A7 III using 70mm equivalent. Okay, I ultimately found no difference in quality save for frame size. Am I crazy? Have you done similar tests? Well, I don't test with Sony cameras at all. Right, the A7 III, that's the Sony 70mm equivalent. There's no difference in quality, save for frame size. Yeah, well, good. That's what I want to hear because these cameras are awesome. You know, the differences you're going to get between full frame and crop sensor, the biggest difference is going to be depth of field. Arguably low light performance. Bigger sensor is just physics. Bigger sensor, more photo sites, more space, more area to gather information. You should always have better low noise performance on a bigger sensor. You want even better performance? Go to a medium format sensor. It should. The thing is that there is a lot more than sensor size that goes into low light performance. There's a lot of electronics and a lot of software that goes into that is built into the camera. So it's not as easy as just, oh, bigger is better. It really comes down to the engineering and science behind it. So if you're seeing the same quality, that is awesome. I love hearing that. They are. I mean, I've been using these things for commercial work for a long time now, and you know, there's no regrets, no going back. So there you go. Bart Johnson says, now throw a speed booster on a lens and show how Betty changes. Why you got to confuse things? Why you got to go there? Speed booster will change the focal length because it has more glass inside of it. A speed booster has lenses inside of it, and so it will change what this is. This will no longer be a 14mm lens because the rear nodal point will no longer be where it was. It will be somewhere else. So there. All right, guys. That is it. We're going to take off. Thank you very much for tuning in today. I hope that was fun and educational. I had a lot of fun preparing for this this session today, and I think I was successful at explaining it. I hope I was. If you got any questions, you know what to do. Stick them in the comments. I will talk to you later. Bye.